Oh, can we get some water? Would you like some water?
You offering me water?
Yeah.
You thinking about me in that nice way?
Yeah, a little bit.
You're a nice person.
I mean, thoughts about myself took me to thoughts about you.
I'm just going to say you thought about me.
Okay.
Because that makes you a gentleman, which
Yeah,
I know
indeed.
you are.
I thought about you. Can I get you some water?
Sure. Thank
Guys,
you.
can we get Jamie Lee a water, please? Do you know what? I might have one as well, actually. Fuck it. Solve it, huh?
Hi, Colin Farrell.
Hi, Jamie Lee Curtis.
How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
We met once before.
Tell me about that, if you would. It was Special Olympics, I believe, and I'll
It
stop
was.
there. Over
It
to
was
you.
in Dublin.
Yeah.
My daughter and I were in Ireland. She was retracing her genealogic roots, and we went to Ireland. And we were there, and it turned out to be the Special Olympics. And we were invited, I was invited to come and at the opening ceremonies and be a participant, and we met in the green room.
Extraordinary experience, that. I've been to it. It's how the world should be.
It is how the world should be. It isn't how the world is.
It's not how the world is. The world is far, far away from this. It was 2005 in Dublin, wasn't it? But what ends up happening is just the sense of community. There's competition there. All the athletes want to win those, want to get first place. Like, it's not like, oh, people who are differently abled or special needs aren't they're so competitive, but it's not the competition. It's not the goal, and it's not competition at the sake of another person's fulfillment of involvement. I mean, Ireland is a fairly friendly country, but that 3 weeks
No. Ireland is an incredibly friendly.
I know. I just wanted you to say
country.
that.
I
just thought I'd lowball us.
Well, no, you don't have to lowball me with Ireland. I just came from there.
When I go back, because I live here, I live in Los Angeles like you do, and so I've been here for 16, 17 years now. I'm raising my 2 sons here. LA means more to me than I thought this city ever would, by virtue of the emotional connections that one exists in when one has children.
Yes, but Ireland has an emotional connection.
Oh my God, when I go home there, it makes sense to me in a way that this place and no other place would have the business making sense to me. Like, if I'm working, say I'm working in New York, London, and I say I'm coming back to Los Angeles, which is home in many ways, I say, yeah, I'm going home. If I'm in Los Angeles, I'm going back to Ireland, I say, I'm going home. I drop it. It's about 2 octaves. It's not intentional. It's just because it's deeper in me. That place is deeper in me.
And you dropped it in this movie. I mean, you got to go home.
Yeah, I did. Accidentally, not accidentally, but not by design, certainly. I've gone home once every 3 years to do a film over there. Where were you born?
Born and raised right here in the City of Angels.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm an LA girl.
Do you love it here?
Raised my kids here. I do. It's my home.
Complicated place or no? Do you see it or experience it as a complicated city? Or I don't experience Dublin as a complicated city. Of course it is. It's full of complicated humans, etc. But I have a very clear idea of how I feel about it, what's right with it, what's maybe wrong with it, what it struggles with, what it succeeds in, and I love all the above.
Yeah.
But do you find...
I went to boarding school once.
Where?
Connecticut. And I went 1 year. Mistake. And
I did boarding school for 1.5 years.
I mean, it's
mistake.
I mean...
Yeah. You were half a year smarter than me.
That was my last year of high school. But, I mean, I had a good experience because I learned a lot about myself. But I used to play Joni Mitchell's California in my room and sob.
Did you?
Sob.
Did you?
Because when you're from somewhere, it's you.
It's a part of you.
It's like you saying your voice drops. There's an organic experience of you being from there.
Totally. There's an element that I'm in Ireland now waiting for me to return. It's like there's so much residual energy of mine there. The place shaped me, it formed me, chiseled me, and sent me out into the world.
No, but the movie is so much about Ireland.
Yeah, it is.
It's such an Irish movie. It's so deep and
Did you think that?
exquisite.
That's cool.
Oh, it's exquisite.
Oh, that's lovely to hear.
Sit somewhere else.
Huh? But I have my pint there, Colin.
It's just so simple and profound.
Martin's extraordinary. When people heard that the film was about 2 friends falling out, like literally one lad saying to another lad within the first 5 minutes of the film, I don't want to be your friend anymore. and that's it. Today's culture, you just don't bother sending a text. I believe the kids call it ghosting.
Yeah.
You just cut the person
You just
out.
stop.
You just stop. Hard to do that on an island where there's one pub and one church in
Well,
1923.
and it's a very clear statement from him. It's so confusing and confounding and understandable in what he's trying to say.
It is. I was shocked by how much, and it's a testament, of course, to Martin's writing, but also Brendan Gleeson, of course, who is an extraordinary actor and an artist and a musician and just a man of unfathomable depth, you know, that I sympathised with his character when I watched the film. When I could find my way through my discomfort, and it wasn't a gesture of self-judgment that I didn't really side with my own. Of course, I understood my character Porrigs and where he's coming from, but I felt such a deep sympathy for the struggle of Brendan's character and for the lengths that he had to go to find this peace, this solitude, that he could reckon with his own mortality. You know,
you're younger than I am. I'm at that place right now, you know, where that time is much shorter that I have left on the earth. It's just shorter.
It's funny. Well, I mean,
that resonated so
did
deeply.
it really, love?
Well,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
ultimately, you're going to have to say to some people, "I don't want to be your friend anymore."
Yeah. Ugh, it's
You're going to
heartbreaking.
have to, because
And
in
everyone
order
pays
to
for
be able
that.
to separate from people.
Everyone pays for that, whether you're the dumper or the dumpee. The separation of church and state that signifies the dissolution of a friendship is always going to be painful.
Yeah.
It's like Withnail and I, you know, Withnail and I, the film with Richard E. Grant
sure.
and Paul McCann, among others. And it's such a funny film. It's so irreverent. It's so beautifully written. But at the end, one of them, they're two actors who are out of work in London in the 80s, early 80s, and at the end of the film, I think it's early 80s, not late 70s, early 80s, at the end of the film, one of them gets a role. It's not a great role, but he just gets a role. And they have that scene on the park bench, Paul McCann and Richard E. Grant, and it's raining, and the most flamboyant character in the film, and the funniest, but also ultimately the most heartbreaking, was Richard E. Grant. And Paul McCann is going off, getting a train somewhere in England. It's not like a huge break. Hollywood isn't coming calling, but he gets a job. And the sadness of that, the sadness of one person leaving, the sadness in the human experience of one person leaving another person behind, one person's aspirations creating a separation. It's essential.
But leaving somebody behind for a reason.
It's essential. I totally agree with this.
He was
I
going
totally
to
agree with
die.
Totally.
Unfulfilled,
Absolutely.
unexpressed.
Absolutely.
If he stayed in this relationship.
That's why I sympathized with him.
And I understand. I
That's why I
sympathize
sympathize
with
with
him
him.
too. And yet, you're wide open, not understanding. It's so powerful because you don't understand. It's not clear
Yeah, no, it's
what
not,
he's
yeah.
saying. It
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah, I
doesn't connect.
Just tell me what I've done to you. And if I've said something to you, maybe I said something when I was drunk and I've forgotten it, but I don't think I said something when I was drunk and I've forgotten it. But if I did, then tell me what it was. And I'll say sorry for that too, Colin. With all my heart.
And your sister, Carrie.
Oh, she's brilliant, isn't she? Isn't Carrie brilliant?
I think
Martin
she
said
has
to
the
me-
hardest part in the movie.
Well, she does because she's the future. She's the hope. She is
She chooses
what
hope.
needs to
Yeah.
happen. She chooses hope, and that's again, it's like Brendan's character doing what he needs to do to survive, and the cruelty that inflicts upon my fella, but also the cruelty that inflicts upon. I mean, by the end of the film, me and Brendan are standing on the beach, and I said to him when I saw it, I said, "You look almost like a goblin at the end, like you've lost 2 feet in height." He's standing on the beach, and I walk up to him, and he looks at me like this, and he's lost 2 feet in height. He's so diminished as a spirit. It didn't work out for him. Whatever the reason, the permutations of why it didn't work out are kind of irrelevant. Everyone pays a price. Siobhan pays Kerry's character, Kerry Condon, plays such a huge price for what is ultimately a leap of painful faith into the abyss of uncertainty. And that's what she needs. And I can't say enough about Kerry's work. I just think she's brilliant. I worked with her, last time I worked with her, we weren't brother and sister like we are in this film. I punched her in the face, knocked her cold, broke her nose, and robbed the till in a coffee shop that opened up a film, an intermission that we did years ago. But I've known Kerry for 20 years. We've all known each other a long time. To see her be given the opportunity to do this work, because often an actor, you don't judge their ability by the jobs that they do. You can see bits of ability. Sometimes they're not given the opportunity. It's like, I didn't work any harder on this than on any of the films.
I understand.
But certain things ask
Of
you. And what this asked of Kerry and what she did, the grace, the dignity, the strength she had to hold her own pay. And when she looks at me, she says, will you mind me books? They're all I have left, apart from the obvious. I can't stop thinking about it. Like she
gutted me.
She messed me up. She
messed
gutted
me
me
up
as
too.
well. Totally watching her in that film, I just thought, oh my God. Anyway, enough of my stuff. Talk to me about yours, will you?
No. I want to talk about this. No, what I want to talk about is exactly.
Well, you are the boss. We've established that today.
Well, I am the
so
boss.
come on.
I'm the therapist.
So come on. I should be lying
Dr.
down.
Chris,
Can we get a chaise in here?
Exactly.
Go on, carry on.
No, what I wanted to talk about just came up because you just said it. You and I have been doing this a long time. I've been doing it longer than you because I'm older than you, but we've both been doing it a long time, and we both had a lot of focus on us at times.
Yeah.
And then a lot of focus on other parts of us at times, and then a lot of time away and not playing in the game. And why are we sitting here today? Because you did that work in that film. I did this work in the movie with the Daniels. And
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
and I don't know, thank you, look at you saving me. And I don't know how a movie made 2 years ago in Simi Valley, California in 38 days in an abandoned office building
Yeah.
has landed me in this chair opposite you any more than you running off and making a movie
No clue.
that's so deeply Irish, that's
clue.
such a beautiful, intensely quiet, conversational movie about human emotions, and ours is a movie about.
Well, yours is about the exact same thing, but
Of
it's
course.
not. Of course it is, and they all are. I know there's an argument for that, but how yours comes around and the chaos
But-
with which yours arrived me at a moment's deep emotional reckoning and peace. The chaos and the movement and the tumult of your film. And I thought, I'd heard so much about your film, and you're extraordinary in it, and the film is extraordinary. I'd heard so much about it. I thought, it can't be. And then the first 15, 20 minutes, I thought, this is obviously really clever, and it's really fun. And fool me, because by the end of it, the profundity of, again, these filmmakers seem to be interested in, your lads, my fellow Martin, they seem to be interested in the themes that we, whether we're conscious of it or not, we all really struggle with. Themes of loneliness, themes of purpose. In your film, regret was such a big thing. And the awareness of the ticking of the clock. And as long as the clock has enough breath to go from 11 to 12 or 3 to 4, as long as there's enough breath in the clock to make that one movement of the hand, there's an ability to reverse course. Mm-hmm. There's an ability to reverse
There's a
course.
redemption
Oh,
and a
it's-
reconciliation
oh,
and a healing.
it's so beautiful, because the only two things I know certainties is we're going to die and we're going to make serious mistakes. Whether we atone for our mistakes, whether we live before we die.
Did you know that before you got sober?
No, I had suspicions before I got sober of things, of the depth of life and experience and how painful life could be and would be for us all eventually, and all that stuff. But I had no ability to hold that without being somewhat self-destructive and without kind of living in it. I don't live in that now. I feel these things that we're talking about at times, and I consider life greatly at times, and other times I'm as frivolous as I was when I was 6 years old on a good day back then.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't live in it. Back then, when I wasn't considering it with any kind of consciousness, I lived in it more unconsciously in a way. But so no, I didn't. But your film, will you tell me, I want to know a little bit about what your film meant to you.
I recently, obviously we're all doing this dance now, so we're talking about the movie a lot.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't talk about the movie.
Same here. I've learned more about the movie doing this stuff. We were saying to Brendan.
Totally. And
I'm
we do some panels, and I sit there with Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, the two guys. I sit there like this, and I'm staring at them as they talk about what the movie was. And Kwan talked about the origins of the movie, the early construction of it, and he talked about our phones and the society we live in, which is this digital input where in 1 second we're seeing the catastrophe of the nightclub shooting last night.
Yeah.
And then one swipe of our finger and then it's a cat video, and one swipe of our finger and it's politics and Twitter, and then and the amount of information that we are processing as human beings now, demanding it from our brains.
Where are we processing it? Here? Not because it's
well, that's where the movie is so beautifully made. And I didn't know when we were making
clever.
it, but that's the
chaos I was talking
the chaos
about.
And the kaleidoscope.
They transposed that chaos, that kind of instantaneous,
and
agitational.
Found the center, which is love, kindness, family, forgiveness, living with regret. We all live with regret.
Yeah, of course.
But
why did a scene with two boulders, two rocks speaking to each other mess me up so much?
Didn't it kill you? Killed me.
I swear, I thought it was one of the best written and performed scenes. It was so meta, but not in a highbrow way. And that's another thing about the film. It's obviously so meta. It so goes on top of itself and on top of itself, multi-dimensional, same characters playing different characters, different perspectives, as we all do in our lives, of course. But then ultimately, the strain of music that was heard at the end was one of simplicity, one of redemption, one of the forgiveness. Because you don't just, to get over regret, I suppose you have to forgive yourself regret. Not forgive yourself even the thing you regret. Like regret in itself is almost, it's totally natural. But if you live in it so long, it almost can become a sin against the self, depending how it's articulated, you know? So I just felt, you know, everyone got a second chance.
Are you just hearing you talk, when you work, are you an articulated actor? Do you articulate your work?
I don't like to talk
Are you
too
an
much.
intellectual actor?
No.
I don't know.
All.
I mean, we haven't worked together in that process.
No.
Yeah, see, I don't like to talk too much either.
I don't like to talk too much.
Yeah.
You know, about it.
And you just do the work yourself.
I do the work myself. I do my work in my hotel room and in my bed at night, and going up for a hike and thinking and finding a piece of music that stirs me, and then I listen to that for the film, and you know, a few pieces of music that things turn up, of course.
Tell me a piece of music for this movie.
A piece of music. Let me see if I can find it by an Irish composer, and that wasn't the intention.
Okay, here.
Nice, huh? It's beautiful. It was an accident that it's an Irish composer.
It's not an accident.
No, it's not an accident. Patrick Cassidy is his name.
Wow.
Vide cor meum. But yeah, again, I think in that, you know, not the intention, but there's forgiveness, there's revelation, there's hope, there's the acceptance of sadness, not just the presence of sadness, not the acknowledgement of sadness, the witnessing of it, but the acceptance of it as a part of our life, you know. So that was all. I listened to that quite a bit, but not so much that, you know, sometimes you're listening to something so much you can almost feel it begin to lose its voice inside. So you have to stop.
Sure. And I have that. I didn't have music for. It's funny when you know someone. I know so many women like Deirdre Beaudeirdre.
I was just hoping you could enlighten me as to how, as a laundromat owner, a karaoke machine could constitute a business expense.
I am a singer.
Of course you are. It's true.
I do.
Who are they? How do they present themselves in
I've
their lives?
met them in recovery.
Wow.
I've met people who, I've met them just in the process of being in life with them. People who wield power in their job as a replacement for having any actual human contact, any love or affection or physical affection, or that no one recognizes them anywhere other than in their position of power, that is the only thing that they've spent their life nurturing, so that's what gets them off, is that power. And then what happens to them at the end of the day when they go home and they sit alone in their apartment? It's incredibly sad. And so she as much as I completely knew her. Like from the first 95% of my work in that movie was shot in the first 2 days.
Really?
In that office building in Simi Valley.
Did it hurt you, the film, in a way, not in a bad way? Did it
You know
did
what?
it haunt you? Did it?
What surprised me was when we did the hot dog universe, because both of our movies involve fingers
Yes,
and
digits,
hands,
yes, indeed.
digits.
Extremities.
But that, when we first met, and Michelle and I met, and the Daniels talked about the hot dog universe, I didn't understand. I know.
I would
didn't
have loved to have been
understand
there for the
and
conversation. I would have.
I didn't understand much of it, and I was trying to figure it out. And then we went into the set, and what happened, which was so beautiful, was Michelle and I just found this gorgeous emotional place with each other.
Fluidity.
And there was no dialogue, and it was written that we were breaking up in this universe, that we had hot dogs for hands, and that we were breaking up, and the scene ended up becoming an improvisation about a loofah. That, when you break up with someone and you are sharing the things that you bought together, and if we broke up right now, we're not going to break up, but if we
hope
broke
not.
up,
I
I
wouldn't
would
see that
say,
coming.
well, I bought this, so I'm
Yeah.
going to take this little succulent, you can have
loofah.
the big one. So it became about a loofah, and for some reason it had to be benign. It had to be an object that would never have emotional resonance.
Attachment or resonance, yeah. Not a dog, not a cat, not a living
Nothing
thing.
like that.
Yes.
It had to be a loofah. And the whole scene became about a loofah. That Deirdre was saying to Evelyn that although she bought the loofah in the relationship, she was leaving it because Evelyn had used it more than...
Oh, gorgeous.
And it was just this
Gorgeous.
beautiful
Ugh.
dance with her. And that level of finding reality within a universe that looks so bizarre. And yet it's not bizarre at all. You see
No,
the
of
movie
course.
and you believe everything about it.
Of course, because what it does is it gives shape and form to the ridiculous. And the ridiculous is something we all contend with. Life is very ridiculous. I mean, you and I, I said before that I don't know why or how I'm on the right side, so far on the right side of wrong, like the preferred side.
That's by the way, if you're going to write a book, I don't know if you are, that's the title for you. The right side of wrong.
The right side of wrong. It's like the world is so unfair and imperfect, and it's unfair and imperfect in the human articulation of our shared experience, not in how the natural world works with a certain kind of cyclical perfection. But I don't know why we've gotten to where we are, but it is ridiculous. And some of the ridiculousness in the world is joyful, and I even find that fella can write that piece of music to be a bit ridiculous, or that those two Daniels can write that script to be ridiculous. That's all beautiful ridiculousness. Then there's the ridiculousness of what we see on the streets when we go out here and what we read about or we scroll through. That's another kind of ridiculousness. So we actually are ready to be presented with that which is absurd, because it has a reflection of our experience in lives. And when absurdity has kindness and mutual interest and shared affection like it does with sausage fingers, why is it so healing? Why is that so healing? Honest to God, like I was the one that brought up the two boulders having a conversation. Why is it so healing? Does it loosen up a certain childishness in us as well?
By the
Give us
way,
permission?
these two movies are about the human condition. And I was sitting here and thinking about, here we are sitting in fake velvet chairs in a fake mid-century, coffee lounge somewhere, talking to each other, and they're actors hustling out on Hollywood Boulevard, very near here, just trying to get a gig, any
Totally.
gig.
It's 3 Spider-Mans 150 yards away, who are actors. They didn't necessarily, and I'm not speaking down about them at all, but that wasn't the actors. There's 99% of us are unemployed.
I know.
I have no idea.
I'm unemployed today. I like to tell people
I will be on Monday, and I can't wait.
I'm a freelance actor, which means I'm an unemployed actor.
I just say I'm around. If somebody says I have a script, I go, I'm around, because I am. It's like I'm not. There's nothing, certainly nothing.
But aren't
plenty
you
above me,
going
nothing
to
beneath
play a character? Aren't you going to play
me. Eventually, someday.
some job? Aren't you going to play Penguin?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's a job.
That was fun.
Oh, you've
Oh, I
already
am.
done it.
No. That was fun to do it. I did it in a film. I did like
Right, but
6
aren't
scenes.
you gonna do it?
I hope I'm going to do it. Yeah, in February or March.
Well, so
in
you'll
New
be
York.
employed.
So I'll be employed.
I'm not
then.
employed.
You have nothing
I
on the
have
horizon.
nothing. I'm
so
not
wait, so let me ask you, because so legacy. So what Brendan's character, Colin Sonny Larry, what he struggled with, or what he was saying he was struggling with, was the importance of leaving
Legacy,
something of note.
yeah.
Of leaving something behind, some way in which his existence is marked by beauty and something that can change maybe the perspective of others or allow them to experience the beauty of his playing and his composition.
Yeah.
Do you think about legacy at all, Jamie Lee, in relation to your, or what is, of course you think about legacy, what does legacy mean to you on your journey on this?
Well, I'm at that age where
Yeah.
I'm.
I also know the road is
thinking
shorter
about it.
ahead than it is
Yeah,
behind.
I
It's
think
funny.
about it a lot.
Yeah.
Being sober is going to be a legacy for sure.
Yes.
Because you're stopping what has been a generational issue
true.
in my biological family. So for me, sobriety is the greatest. It will be the single greatest thing I do if I can stay sober.
Yeah,
I mean, this without question.
you will, yeah.
Because generations
Yeah.
of people have had their lives ruled and ruined by alcoholism and drug addiction. So for me, sobriety is sobriety first, always.
So cool.
Art is, I write books for children.
Do you?
I do. And
That makes sense.
I wrote a book about competition, which is called Is There Really a Human Race? And it's about a race, the metaphor
Yes,
of the
yes,
race.
of course.
About as a child, is it really, like, was I born into a race that you didn't tell me about? It was, and we do it in the sense of school and competition and
Gorgeous.
all of the things. And what happens is this child freaks out in the middle of the book, understanding that if everyone is racing and everyone is spinning, that there's going to be a collapse, that we're all going to slam into each other and it's going to be this big catastrophe. And this child is a little freaked out. And then the mother steps into the book. And this is what the mother says at the end of the book. She says, sometimes it's better not to go fast. They're beautiful sights to be seen when you're last. Shouldn't it be that you just try your best? And that's more important than beating the rest. Shouldn't it be looking back at the end that you judge your own race by the help that you lend? So take what's inside you and make big, bold choices. And for those who can't speak for themselves, use bold voices.
That's cool.
And make friends and love well and bring art to this place and make the world better for the whole human race.
Oh my God.
So ultimately, it's about art.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's about bringing art
But that's
to
what
this
it is. I mean,
place.
I do think that,
That's legacy.
oh, that's so beautiful what you shared. I do think that sometimes art can be held aloft as the purview of the few, and it's not. The whole reason art exists is because it's an expression of the human condition. And the one thing that no matter what blessings I have or what wealth I experience in my life, I have no more or less of the human condition than the gentleman who's living without a roof over his head on the street. We're in exactly the same place
And that's,
internally.
And that's the
I
gift
have-
sobriety gives you.
Yeah.
Is that the
So-
rules apply to you just like they apply to other people.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's so beautiful. Yeah.
But so that's to me what legacy is. That legacy ultimately is about making friends and loving well, loving your
Totally.
people really well,
Totally.
and bringing art here. Because art, I mean, I got to see Kate today, Blanchett, and I've seen Tar, and although she's a very complicated character, Lydia Tar, the music that she is communicating through, that is written long ago,
Yeah.
still
Resonates.
moves us.
Of course it does. Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's the beauty of
And
art.
that's it. But life is as twee as it is, as quaint as it is a sentiment. Life is the great art, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It really is. I mean, it's the great art that we are all capable of expressing. I can't do anything beyond Matchstick Men, but I love my children with an artist's heart. I love my friends with an artist's heart. And what do I mean by an artist's heart? I mean just a heart that's open, that's at times, not all the time, at times not afraid of its pain, also at times not afraid and finds great aspiration in the reaching for joy, not with a clenched fist, not with white knuckles, but with an open hand. And so I think, I just love when what we could call art, or what you decide to call art, is really accessible. Whether it's music, whether it's, I don't give a shit really for, if you don't play an instrument, then you're not an artist. Or Justin Bieber's an artist. I don't know if he plays an instrument, he may. But I remember someone having a slag at him publicly. I think it was Prince, who's obviously a genius. But art comes in so many forms. Nobody gets to say to somebody else what isn't art. I mean, they do. Some critics do, and they choose to, and that's their path, and good luck to them. But art is everywhere. It's happening when we're not looking, And our privilege, I suppose, is that, and I grew up on, I saw Michael J. Fox last night, and what that speech. I mean, Michael J. Fox meant so much to me as a kid. And what I'm saying is, I love entertainment.
Yeah.
There's art all over Back to the Future. There's art all over With Neil and I. There's art all over the Indiana Jones. There's art. There's art everywhere. There's art on the street, there's graffiti, the whole world is buzzing with people trying to articulate their confusions and trying to reach each other through the frivolity of laughter and entertainment, or the depth of soul-searching story and narrative and performance, And yours was both. Your film was both. Was both of those worlds colliding in this kind of chaotic, as you said, kaleidoscopic reaching out to the audience.
Aren't we lucky?
Yeah, mad lucky.
Aren't we mad lucky?
Mad lucky.
Mad fucking lucky.
Don't want to say it too many times.
Mad lucky.
Or else,
mad
say
lucky.
it too many times. Yeah, it's not Candyman. Say it 3 times.
Was it the same for you guys when you reunited?
Oh God, yeah. It was like
Because
yesterday.
In Bruges was when?
14 years ago. 14 years ago.
So the child I met today was just born.
Henry
was a
Henry
baby.
Wasn't even,
not
he wasn't
not
even
even born.
Henry wasn't even born.
Wow.
I don't think I had.
Isn't that amazing?
Amazing.
To think that
Yeah.
that human being who I've just had the pleasure of spending 15 minutes with,
Yeah.
and all of his life and all of the influences
Yeah.
and all of the choices in his life that have made him him,
As
didn't
special and
exist
brilliant
when
him.
you went off and made that movie?
Mad.
Yeah.
Well, it's also as well when you think about film has given me Henry,
Yeah.
and Henry's brother James. Film has given my mother a husband. I did a film called Fright Night years ago, right? It was a remake of the film, and it was great crack and all that. And I loved gorgeous Anton Yelchin, Lord rest him, was in it, a bunch of others, and we made it. Nobody really saw it. Got okay reviews, whatever. And it was made for people to see. Got better reviews than it's kind of made for, but the thing it's made for didn't happen. Nobody went to see it. But the producers of that film, Alison Rosenzweig and Michael Gaeta, who've since become friends, they said to us, me and my sister who was working on the film halfway through the shoot, does your mother have a partner? Because they met our mother, Rita, who was whatever age she was that time. Whew, that was close. Still learning, Jamie.
It's all right.
And we said, no, she doesn't. We'd love her to, but she's not interested in it. Because my mother was all like, no, had one, you're fine. No, thank you very much, I'm done. And they said, we have someone that maybe. Long story short, I won't tell you exactly the steps, but they're married now. They got married in my back garden 7 years ago. My mom, Rita Farrell, formerly Farrell, now Rita Michaels, married Joel Michaels in my back garden in Los Feliz with Henry and James and all the family, 80 people. And it was amazing 7 years ago. And they now live in an apartment on Sunset Boulevard, and it's extraordinary. And that is what makes Fright Night the second most important film in whatever nonsense I've been doing for the last 20 years. The first most important film, of course, is Undine, which is where I met Henry's mother. So I'll push my mom and her husband in happiness into second place where it belongs. And I'll say,
And I'm going to tag team.
come on, lay it on me.
So I made a movie called Halloween.
Yes, you did.
I did.
Go on.
1978.
Yeah.
The producer of that movie is a woman named Deborah Hill.
Yes.
In April of 1984, that was in 1978, in April of 1984, I was looking through Rolling Stone magazine with Deborah Hill sitting next to me, and I turned the page and saw a picture of a man and said to Deborah Hill, oh, I'm going to marry him. She said, who? I said, that one right there. She said, oh, he was an actor. I tried to put him in a movie once. His name is Chris Guest. I said, oh, I'm going to marry him. I called she said, he's with your agents. And the next day I called the agent. Guy picked up the phone. He said, I know all about it, Jamie, Chris Guest. I said, oh, look, I think the guy's cute. Here's my number, blah, blah, blah. He never called me, dated somebody else for like 2 months, broke up with that person, took that person to the airport, left the airport, went to Hugo's restaurant in West Hollywood, sat down, and 2 tables away facing me was Chris, who looked at me and went like this. And then I went like this, and then he got up to leave, and he stood there, and he went, and I went, and he left, and he called me the next day. And the reason I'm telling you this long-winded story is Halloween.
I want you to pad it out a bit more, yeah.
Halloween. Chris and I went out July 2nd. We got married December 18th that same year, 38 years ago. And our daughter, Ruby, was married in our backyard this last May.
I mean, good luck.
So talk
mean,
about how,
jeez.
and by the way, Deborah Hill, the reason I know Deborah
Go
Hill
on.
is because she wrote Halloween.
Yeah.
So I'm now
God,
64
I
years
love it.
old, and again, a movie changed my entire life.
But my God, films have given to me much more than I could ever think I've given an audience or anything like that. I've been so spoiled by opportunity and love and adventure, you know, and I just, as you said, we're so lucky.
Can we talk about the donkey, please?
Yeah, Jenny, yeah, go on.
Him and his little donkey.
What about me little donkey?
So
It's beautiful,
my
obviously.
husband is obsessed with miniature donkeys.
He is not, is he?
He's obsessed. But I mean, like,
Really?
I've looked into it, if you know what I'm
Oh,
saying.
yeah.
Our anniversary.
Everything you're afraid to know about sex,
no,
but we're too
our-
afraid to ask. Gene Wilder with the sheep in the bed. I'm getting...
No, it's just our anniversary is coming up, and I've looked into it, as they say. But tell me about her.
Jenny was lovely.
Tell me about her, 'cause
It's her
she's
first
so
film.
beautiful.
She's gorgeous.
She's gorgeous.
She's gorgeous. And, you know, she is a perfect canvas for the projection of the human wish that everything would stay younger. You know that thing we've all had as parents,
Sure.
where I just wish, why can't it just stay? You know,
Sure.
it seems like it's simple and innocent and it's enjoying the purity of life, and it's not. But she was also a bit of a nervous wreck, which is understandable because film sets, if you don't know what you're doing, can be a very awkward place to be. There's so much movement, people have a definite purpose. Like, I've visited friends on film sets and I go, ugh, get me out of here. I'm going to start trying to hold a boom or make someone a sandwich or give me a line at least. Can I say something or hit a mark? So she was very, when Jenny, I'm obviously taking her very seriously as I should. When she arrived, she actually had a support donkey. She did. She had a support donkey. And I'm so ashamed I don't remember the support donkey's name. I do. Rosie. Rosie was Jenny's support donkey, right? Only takes 2 people to have an AA. As you and I know, it only takes 2 people to have an AA meeting, right? So Jenny was the star.
Oh my God.
Rosie was her support donkey. They called Rosie Jenny's quote-unquote stand-in.
Oh, I see.
And she did sometimes, but literally Jenny would be always looking to see where Rosie was, and Rosie had a little kind of a peaceful effect on her constitution. You could see it. But funny thing happened was,
Okay, I just
no,
can't. She had
no,
a
she had-
support dog.
but people didn't give Rosie much of the time of day. Because she was
'cause
literally,
she was
we
the support donkey.
anthropomorphized
Yeah.
the donkey
Yeah.
so that the support donkey, the stand-in donkey,
Yeah, it was
didn't
just a
get-
donkey. Yeah.
She wasn't the star. I saw that and I was like, I watched it.
Yeah, of
People
course you
not
did.
knowing, now there's no harm. But I watched it and I was like, it's actually happening
Yeah.
with donkeys.
Yeah.
The
Okay, so you can imagine what happens
the
to
star
people.
donkey. So
Yeah.
you know what happens to, totally. But Jenny was great. I mean, she was the boss. You know, animals are so, people say don't work with animals and children. You must only work with animals and children, because
totally
that's where
agree
the
with you.
honesty exists. You know, we learn to lie, we learn to,
But I don't even want to know it was a movie set. I don't even want to know there was a grip.
sure.
I don't
Well, if
know
it's
where
any
the
use
grip
to you,
was.
it
I
was-
didn't see the grip.
Yeah.
I didn't see the dolly track.
Yeah.
I didn't see
If
the.
it's any use to you, this whole thing meant a lot to a lot of people, on it. Well, look, we were living on Aran Islands for 3 or 4 weeks. We rehearsed in Galway City for 2 weeks, then we moved to the Aran Islands and we
So
shot
you
there for 3.
rehearsed for 2 weeks?
Sorry, 3. Martin loves a bit of rehearsal. And we did, yeah, exactly. When we did In Bruges, I did the same thing. I was like, what are we going to rehearse for 3 weeks, we're going to be flogging a dead donkey, pardon the recent...
Yeah, you can't say that.
And but his stuff is so good, and there are so many. I don't know if he incorporates them consciously into his storylines and things, but not like if something's organic and pure and comes from a muscular mind and a decent warrior heart like Martin has as an artist, there'll be layers in there, of course, that the person doesn't even. They'll just create this panoply of the human experience by taking care with integrity of the main narrative they're concerned with, and then all these other things will just ripple. And so I noticed doing the 3 weeks, and in Bruges, week 2, I was like, Brendan, every time we ask a question, there's 5 more questions. And that's what happened. So by the time we finished 3 weeks on In Bruges, I was chomping at the bit, and I was a bit concerned, but we never took it to 100%. You know, the most we take any of the emotional scenes was 70, 80%. And so anyway, look, we were all ended up in the Aran Islands doing this one, Banshees, and everyone ended up sharing stories with each other about our parents and our grandparents and who was from what parts of the country and who left and went to America. So it became kind of a very gentle and very undeclarative experience of shared history. And I mean, like, the most healing stuff happened off camera, you know, in what we were all sharing. We were on the islands, so a thing happened that doesn't happen often now, which is the crew and the cast were all living together. So those who drank were out drinking, having a laugh. Those who didn't would be there for the first half hour of said laugh that evening. We'd go away, you know. But it was an amazing, it didn't feel like work. As upsetting as it was to tell the story sometimes, it felt like, and I'm guilty, shamefully, of it not always feeling like the privilege that it always is, just because I haven't connected to certain things in the past, so I've struggled with that, because it is always a privilege. But this, as difficult as it was for some of us, and it was such a privilege to share it together, all of us in front of and behind the camera. There was just hands kind of metaphorically being held everywhere you looked, and there was support everywhere you looked, and there was laughter everywhere you looked, and there was sunrise every day outside that pub, John Joe's pub. We'd all just, there was no let's break for the sunrise, sundowners, who's got the, you know, we'd all Pims, we'd all just walk out as the sun was setting. Every day, of course, set differently, and the ocean responded in a different way. And it was just magic, and nobody said anything to each other. We just sat there in silence for 8 to 12 minutes every day the sun set. We sat there, stood there in silence looking at it, and then we'd all 50 of us turn around and go back into the pub and continue shooting. It was unspeakably beautiful and harmonious, I have to say.
And we did the exact same thing.
Did you?
On Everything Everywhere All at Once, except we would exercise together as a crew.
Get out of town. What do you mean, drop and give me 50?
Every morning, someone would lead the crew
Get out of town.
in some sort of exercise.
That's
and
brilliant.
so they would play music. and
Even just
then
jumping jacks, or?
whatever it was. We would gather together, and then they gave crew awards every week, the directors. They loved their crew.
They loved their whole
They loved
thing.
The whole
They loved the whole
But it was
thing.
very similar.
Oh, that's
we gathered
beautiful.
together.
No, I get it deeply. That's beautiful.
We kind of got our hearts going, and then we went into an office building. We weren't on an island in Ireland.
you
we were in
needed it.
Simi Valley,
you
California.
needed it. You needed
by the
that
way.
kinesis, that
But
shared kinesis.
Thank you for this.
Thank you for this. This is incredible for me.
Lovely
Oh
person.
God, I loved it so much.
Yes.
So moved.
Very happy to know you.
You wrecked me. You too.
Nah.